Hello, my name is Matthew Rivera, and today I will be discussing my cultural identity reflection. As you've seen in my original video project that I made in the beginning of the semester, I discussed how not just my identity and cultural identity being found inside of my nationality and my family, but also in my religious faith in Jesus Christ. And I know very well aware that I've talked very much about that in this class and expressed my faith, and I believe that's a big part of that. But anyway, I would like to dive into aspects of my culture and things I've learned as we've progressed through the class since I submitted that first assignment. So, first, I wanted to discuss cultural dimensions. So, I'll just read through the bullets that the main first point would be collectivism, and I understand that I highlighted collectivism and its importance in church culture. It encourages unity and can be helpful in difficult times. It emphasizes people being better together and thinking of others before oneself. This is reflected in decisions made collectively and the moral support of small groups. A quote that I found was both individualism and collectivism contribute to the kingdom of God with their own unique values. This quote from Fuller Studio goes into detail about how both sides have their values. I believe that power distance within this particular culture is relatively low. Everyone is treated as equals and respected accordingly. Although I did not focus on this topic in my video, I'm still very thankful for being a part of this presentation. We believe that we're all on the same level, that in Christianity, we all have fallen short of God's glory. So therefore, we are all the same. We're all on the same level. Some of us may do things better than one another, but at the end of the day, we're all God's children, in our opinion, in our view. In fact, I'm so grateful to have such an amazing opportunity to contribute to the discussion and share my ideas with others. I'm sure that each and every one of us can learn something from each other. And that's what makes it so special. Next slide. Verbal behavior. As I discussed previously, I display my culture by choosing not to swear. I figured it was important to maintain a moral and professional standard when speaking with others. It is easy to tell that I don't swear, and it seems to be viewed in a positive light. People see me and they're wondering, hey man, why don't you curse? That's so weird. It's just one of the ways that I like to separate from popular culture and modern culture and what surrounds me. I feel like I am specifically, as a Christian, called not to be like everyone else and talk like everyone else and participate in things like everyone else, like partying and drinking and smoking and all those things, And, I discussed this in the video project. However, there's more to just swearing. In a state like New Jersey, people automatically notice the way I dress and treat people. We're a very kind of robust, rough culture. And me, I'm gentle in my verbal approach, and I try my best to be loving in all forms. The way I love people and talk to people and encourage people is very important to me, and that's how I express my cultural identity, is by being kind to people and loving on people. It's very, very important to me that I express that to others. So, on to the next slide. Here's some nonverbal behavior. And I just put some arrows, and I'll kind of elaborate where I'm going with this. So first, illustrator, kinesics. That's a major nonverbal behavior that I realized when reading in the chapters and all that good stuff. I realized that we do use a lot of illustrators in the church. Also me, and as you saw in the video, I lead worship and I lead the congregation in those times. So my job is basically to use these illustrators, these kinesics, these hand movements to communicate what we're doing. When I lift up my hands or I have my hands out in a way that communicates surrender to God. And as we do it together, we're all in a communal surrendering to God. And that's very important. I feel like those expressions of raising your hands and pumping your hand on your fist on your chest, it's all super important and very much an illustrator. So the second one is digital communication, and Social media, communicating, obviously it's a certain form of verbal communication, but it's not speaking. So social media it's another door to the church. It's another door to get people into the organization, into the community, and to express things in a way that it's going to attract people. And you have to use some sort of form of marketing and things like that. And lastly, haptics. During these services that we hold, haptics are so important, touching and loving on people, hugging people. And these affections communicate, I love you, I'm here for you. There's something that you do. You put your hand on someone's shoulder or their back or their head, and if you don't verbally communicate and you just stay there in that moment when we believe God is moving in these services, we believe that is called something called interceding, intercessionary prayer, which is not verbal, but you're still praying. And we believe that the power of God is all over that. And it's super exciting. And I understand I'm talking a lot about religion and I'm beating a dead horse, but it's true. We see this power and through simple haptics. And it's so interesting how I could, throughout this whole class, use all these examples and all these different communicative, intercultural terms and relate them to my life. It's so cool. So, as we continue, a main point to consider is how your actions and behaviors illustrate your character and qualities as a leader. So this one's a little bit more towards leadership and communicating as a leader. So in the church, it is important to think about the messages your decisions and actions communicate about who you are and what kind of leader you strive to be. An article by Second Chance Pastor gives some good points. Here's 3 points that they give. Everything you do communicates something about you and what you truly believe. The way you act, everything you do, the way that you do things, and it's not always the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the way that your face appears, your facial communication. It could display something and it shows something. You could say, oh, I love God, I love God, I love this, I love that. But if you're not showing it and deeper than your words, actions speak louder than words. And I believe very much that that's so important in a nonverbal standpoint. The second point is being at worship on a Sunday morning shows people something about your faith. Showing up communicates. Being present communicates where you're at, who you are, and it helps you gain influence. Those ways you communicate, people see and they receive it. And lastly, what you do during prayer time reveals something about you. I won't harp on this for too long, but I believe that this is more of what you do in private will show up in public. How you act in the unseen, how you communicate to God in the unseen is displayed in the scene and when you're around people and when you're in action, So lastly, I just have 3 pictures here that I really wanted to kind of communicate. First one being unity. Developing unity amongst the in-group is so important. We can't forget how our beliefs personally, how Jesus loved those who weren't like him. He loved those who hated him. And how much more in the in-group should we be together and unified and loving towards one another? It's very important, and we have to see more of it. The next one is community outreach. Another way we develop intercultural relationships is going out to where we've been placed and the outgroup, meeting the outgroup where they are and serving them, loving them, reaching out to them, spreading our message of hope, of truth, of peace. It's so important. Every community, every tribe, every tongue, we hope will be blessed by what we do. And lastly, impacting every culture. No matter what religion you have, no matter what belief you hold, we want to spread that message and develop those relationships. And we're not always going to agree on religion. We're not always going to agree on morals and values and political things. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're all humans, and the heart is to impact every culture and develop the culture and work with what's around us. So we want to impact the Muslim community. We want to impact the LGBTQ community because they're all human beings. The poor communities and people who are less fortunate, we want to bless those communities and impact them. Not try to force them into something, but love on them and impact them right where they're at and build relationships. Microculture in the church. And this is very short, but I'll say as a Hispanic male, I believe that our culture and backgrounds are regularly overlooked or mistakenly perceived in the United States. In spite of this, Pew Research Center's statistics from 2022 tells us that 64% of Latinos are involved in some form of Christianity, which is awesome to me. As a member of this percentage, I see a strong acceptance of microcultures in the predominantly white American church. So, people, white Jesus, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the church needs to accept all creeds, all colors, which they do. And I know specifically at where we started with my video project, Bethany Church is a place that will accept every creed, every color, will take you in your highest place, will take you in your lowest place. So I hope everything I said blessed you. And I thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.